Hello everyone, welcome back. In this lesson, we look at Spring Boot. So here's the Spring Boot website. And here it says, Spring Boot makes it easier to create standalone, production-grade Spring-based application that you can just run. And we take an opinionated view of the Spring platform and third-party libraries so you can get started with minimum fuss. Most Spring Boot applications need very little Spring configuration. So in a quick shot, Spring Boot is a pre-configured version of Spring application or Spring framework. And because there are a lot of commonly used tools and libraries, and a lot of times if you want to configure yourself from Spring MVC or Spring Security, Spring Data, and it's gonna take a lot of work to do those configurations. And with Spring Boot, a lot of things will be pre-configured for you to directly use. Okay. Here there's a quick start guide using the Spring Boot CLI, which is the command line tool, and a quick Hello World demo. And you can find some reference and API reference as well. But for our demonstration purpose, we're gonna use Eclipse and start a Spring Boot project and get it up and running to see the welcome page. All right, so let's get started. First, bring up your Spring window, the Eclipse window, and some of the personal preference. I want to use the Java perspective here instead of Java EE by default. And by the way, the version of the Eclipse I'm using is Mars, so it's just recently released. Okay, it says 2016 February 18th. And if you want to open this Java perspective, you can come to Window, Perspective, Open Perspective, and there's a Java if you haven't seen it here. All right, and then you want to install the Spring Tools plugin as well. You can simply click on this Help and go to Eclipse Marketplace, and within this marketplace, type in Spring. So system will search for the tools and plugins that are available for Spring framework. I'll just pause the video, let it finish searching. Okay, so here you can see multiple Spring plugins you can use. The one that I installed is this one, Spring Tools Suite, or short for STS, and it's for Eclipse 3.7.3 release. Okay, and you can see there are 268,000 installed. So basically you want to install that. Because I've already installed it, I'll just skip the step, but it's pretty straightforward. You just follow the steps on the guide, you should be good to go. And after you finish installing, you need to restart Eclipse as well. Okay, and since Spring Boot comes with an embedded Tomcat server, so you don't have to actually install Tomcat by yourself, but you do need the Java JDK for it to run. So I have downloaded Java 1.8 and configured with configured with Eclipse. So that's pretty straightforward to do. I'll just skip the steps. If you don't know how to do that, there'll be tons of papers online for you to find. So here, we'll just start quickly on the Spring Boot to show the Welcome to Spring demo. Okay. So first, click on File, and you want to create a new project, and you want to choose Spring Startup Project. Okay, so this menu comes up with the Java perspective. If you are using different perspective, you might not be able to see this Spring Startup Project. And if you want to find that, you can simply choose Other and go to Spring, and there will be Spring Startup project here as well. Okay, so click on Next, and then we come to this Spring Startup project setup page. Since this is just a demo, I'll just give the name as demo. Okay, artifact as demo, description Spring Boot demo. Okay, and next, and here we have the boot version. You can choose. By default it's 1.3.3. I'll just leave it to be. And there's some third-party tools you want to pre-integrate for you to be configured by Spring Boot. And the one you need is under this web folder, choose the web component, and also in the template engine, choose TimeLive. So this web component basically takes care of the Spring MVC related configuration, so it's ready for direct usage for developing a web application. And here we have template engines that you can choose for different FreeMaker, Moustache, or whatever. And TimeLive is the recommended template engine for Spring. But because in this course we will be using Angular 2 for front end, so TimeLive development will be minimum here. The reason we want to include here is that we want Spring to configure the return view for us. Okay, so that is to say, if we have this selected, Spring will configure the view resolver for us by default. Okay, so click on Next and finish, and then system will just configure it by itself. Okay, once it's finished, here we have the folder, and we can see under the package folder we have a application Java class. Okay, and we can see there's a public static void main function here. So basically this file is the entry point for the whole application. So when we start to run this application, we're not going to just do it through the usual way we run as a server from the server. We want to just directly run this application, start the application, and then Spring Boot will automatically start whatever plugins that needed, including Tomcat, or later maybe Hibernate, something like that. All right. This annotation here, it says add Spring Boot application. So basically with this annotation, it's very powerful. It basically takes care of a lot of configuration stuff here. But I'll just leave it for you guys to take a look at the document to check out the detail, because this course mainly focuses on the project development rather than going into every detail of it. Okay. So right now we can just get this application start to run. Simply right click on this demo application.java, or right click on this demo and choose run as, and you can select Spring Boot application here. Okay, system will start to search some stuff first. Just let it finish, and then so you will see a Spring Boot trademark here, and then there will be several configurations, taken care of by Spring automatically, such as Tomcat and servlet engine, dispatcher servlet, and mapping filter. Okay, and here we can see Tomcat already started on port 8080. Okay, so let's come back to our browser and type in localhost 8080. Okay, So we have a white label error page. So if you see this, that means your Spring is up and running. The reason we see this as an error page is because we don't have any mappings or view files for this root folder. Okay, so let's just come back and add one quickly. First, you want to have a controller. So right click on this package and choose a Java class. I'll just give a name as home controller. And the first thing you want to do is add the annotation controller. Okay, and press Ctrl Shift O to import the package. Basically, this annotation registered this Java class as a controller bin in the Spring container. Okay, and then we do a request mapping, map to the root folder, root path, and we're gonna do a public string home function, and we'll return home. Okay, we're gonna press Ctrl Shift O again to import the request mapping package. So basically what this does is that it registered a path mapping for the root path. And when you type in this path, the root path, this function will be executed. And it simply return a home string. And because we have include the time-lived template engine, remember when we are configuring the Spring Starter project, we include the time-lived component. So Spring will resolve the views automatically. And basically you can come to the resource folder and add a, say, whatever template here, type in HTML and develop a new HTML file because we want the name to be home. That is the same as this one, okay? And then click on next. And by default it's HTML5. We want to do that and finish. Okay. So here is the template for HTML5. I want you guys to notice that actually time-lived template engine is very strict on the syntax. This line is not going to pass the syntax check. So if you see a problem by running it directly, this line could give you a problem. So you want to just delete that. Okay. All right. So we're going to change the title to demo and give a head one. And say, welcome to Spring Boot. All right, and save it. Now we have the controller and we have the view. We should be able to restart the Spring Boot. See, we can see the welcome page. But before we restart to run it, there's one thing I want you guys to notice. Usually when you restart a server, you just directly click on this button, the server will be restarted. But Spring Boot is a little different because it's running, starting from the application file. So if you just click on this directly, because previously it's already running and it's not going to restart it. So eventually it will have a conflict. You can see there's an error message saying that the address already in use because the previous thread hasn't been killed yet. So the good way to do it is you want to stop the previous process, the previous running first, and then you start the run. Okay, it's a little bit inconvenient, but it's just the way it is. And if you run into the situation like this, there's previous process hasn't been killed yet, you can simply open the task manager, try to search for a Java process. So we just end the Java process task, whatever Java process here and come back and rerun it. So okay, this time it has no problem. Tomcat is started. Let's come back to the page and refresh. There we go. We see our welcome page.